Welcome back, Truth Seeker. December 1st, 2023. Always an eventful day. Every time it rolls around, every year. And every year I'm talking about the same person and how, if you're aware of that person, that very famous occultist from the UK, you can see right through all the headlines. And of course, I'm talking about Aleister Crowley, who died on this day in 1947. And of course, Aleister Crowley invented the religion Thelema, where you worship the number 93, a very special number, a number that a lot of people are worshiping without even realizing it, whether they're members of Thelema or not. For example, the entire New Testament is based on the number 93. It's why Israel was drawn up on 9-3 right before Crowley's passing. And of course, his number one assistant was named Israel. Biblical. But anyhow, Sandra Day O'Connor, the nation's first female Supreme Court justice who stepped down for her husband, dead at 93 on this day. And of course, her legacy is connected to Reagan and the Bushes. And of course, the Bushes, a lot of people think Barbara Bush was the daughter of Aleister Crowley. Of course, Barbara Bush died in her 93rd year of life. Barbara Bush and George Herbert Walker Bush also lost their child many years ago, back in the 50s. On the eve of Aleister Crowley's birthday. And again, Crowley, who died on this day in 1947, his occult religion, Thelema, where the line comes from, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Again, this is his death anniversary, and now it's Sandra Day O'Connor's, who's dead at 93, and she's connected to the federal government, which is very much connected to the occult. And that's what the American people fail to see. And because they're not aware of the cult and they're not aware of their teachings and the things they're into, they fail to understand the rituals that go on day after day. And remember, Aleister Crowley was said to be the master of darkness. We're showing dark stuff that's going on every day, including human ritual sacrifice. We're also going to get into why George Santos was expelled today. It's a perfect ritual, and just like we said about a year ago this time when the Santos headlines were breaking, we said, watch, this story will go all through 2023, and it'll be a perfect tribute to Revelation in the Synagogue of Satan, those who claim to be Jews but are not. Of course, George Santos is a Catholic. We're going to see why it ends today, this ongoing saga, in the perfect political theater that it was. We're also going to talk about why Israel resumed its bombing today, and we're going to go back and look at why Israel was drawn up on 9-3 in 47, 89 days before the passing of Aleister Crowley on December 1st, 47. Again, this is no accident. Of course, Palestine was under British control before it was handed over to European Jews, essentially out of the mega occult ritual that was the World Wars is the reason all this came about. And again, 93 all throughout history. I mean, there's so many examples of the relevance of 93. A big one in the U.S. was it was the warning before 9/11 with the 93 World Trade Center bombings. But yes, that is the main takeaway today. It's Aleister Crowley's death anniversary, the man who worshipped 93, and Sandra Day O'Connor, dead at 93. So let's get into the rest of it and go over all the top headlines this morning. There'll probably be a lot more. December 1st is always a very eventful day. And again, we'll cover all the reasons why. So here's Aleister Crowley. He was born on October 12th, 1875. And we know Israel's 75 right now. So is the Superior General. But born October 12th, 1875, dead December 1st, 1947. And that means he died while he was in his 72nd year of life. Again, this man studied Kabbalah, 72 names of God in Kabbalah, 72 demons in the Goetia. Ozzy Osbourne has the song about Mr. Crowley, what did you do? Some people say Crowley unleashed demons into this world that he did not intend to. Again, study Aleister Crowley. Very interesting man. You could probably study him the rest of your life and you still won't uncover everything. Aleister Crowley, a man who wrote several books about Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. Something else about this date, 12/1, In Gematria, blood sacrifice equals 121. Very fateful pattern, and probably also part of the reason he died on this day, as well as Sandra Day O'Connor. Another word that corresponds with this date, 12/1, is revelation. Revelation equals 121. That gets to George Santos and the Synagogue of Satan and those who claim to be Jews but are not. Of course, like in the UK, where Aleister Crowley's from, they write the date 1/12, like 112. Kind of like the Balfour Declaration on November 2nd, another 112 date. Again, Zionist Israel. The letter about it to another member from the UK, the Rothschild, the Balfour Declaration to drop Zionist Israel on November 2nd. But remember, Judaism is 112, Zionist is 112, theater is 112, another special number, Catholicism's 112. Aleister Crowley's main secretary was named Israel, and we'll get to Mr. Israel and how he changed the spelling of his name, and we can clearly see why he changed the spelling of his name to get the 201, as we'll come to. But again, just things about December 1st that we talk about year after year. And they put out the image of Sandra Day O'Connor in her purple back when she was becoming a member of the judiciary on the federal level. Of course, purple's the color of royalty, which goes back to the UK. We'll talk about the parallel with her death and the Queen's, because there's a very obvious one, the recent death of the Queen, which we saw coming a mile away, and we knew why she would die at 96. And I thought she'd die on the 140th day of the year, but instead she died 140 days after her birthday, because Queen of England's 140, but we're going to get to the parallel with Sandra Day O'Connor and the Queen's recent passing and all these people high up on the world stage. But yes, in light of her connection to Reagan and Bush, just remember, the Bush child did die in history October 11th, which was the eve of Aleister Crowley's birthday. Again, a lot of people say Barbara Bush, who died in her 93rd year of life, was Aleister Crowley's daughter. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. We actually went into that a lot deeper 5 years ago when we nailed the death date of George Herbert Walker Bush. And it's too bad we can't get views like we could back then. That video got 1 million views in a day. And back then you could tell the views were real because I never sold more books in a single day than the day George Herbert Walker Bush died. And my channel's pretty much been destroyed since then. They haven't let hardly anything get any views for 5 years now. But we still keep pushing on, even though it doesn't feel rewarding to push on because there's almost no support for the work and there's no views, and you just wonder if you're talking to an echo chamber and if anyone new's receiving the work. But anyway, Israel, if you did not know, drawn up its boundaries September 3rd, 47. Aleister Crowley would die 89 days later, December 1st, 47. Again, he's highly connected to the UK, who had control of Palestine at the time. Remember, Aleister Crowley equals 89. So does the word religion. So does the name King James, who has a Bible named after him. Of course, the gospel, which begins with the 930th, 930, the 930th chapter of the Bible. The gospel's 89 chapters long. The word chaos also equals 89 like religion, and doesn't that just bring it all together with Israel? Non-stop chaos, warfare, bloodshed over religion. It's not an accident, you guys. It's not an accident. All of this stuff perfectly put and encapsulated in the English language in the 16th century for the sake of a language to be spread across the world as a new world order is achieved, as a world's united in a new living language, as they wrote on the Georgia Guidestones that came down in the recent ritual on George W. Bush's birthday. But notice also it was officially voted on, this drawing of the boundaries of Israel and Palestine for September 3rd, 47. It was officially voted on November 29th, 47, and who just died on that day? Henry Kissinger, right? He just died this year on November 29th. Notice how Henry Kissinger in Gematria equals 181, just like what was voted on was called UN General Assembly Resolution 181, which makes sense because it's the 42nd prime number, and Zionism equals 42, and Freemason equals 42, and Jesuit equals 42, and Georgetown equals 42, the first Jesuit university, and World War equals 42, and that's who did the world wars, this same cabal. The word war itself is 42, and Israel's always at war, just like this nation, which was created by the same people who created Israel. The sun never sets on Britain. But isn't it so perfect? And just for another 181, it's also Sandra Day O'Connor, which equals 181, which again is the 42nd prime. And remember when she took federal office, it was back in 81, which was 42 years ago. And we just talked about how the Carters left office in 81, and then Miss Carter, Rosalind Carter, dies right after Joe Biden's 81st birthday. Again, it's not an accident. These deaths are so close to each other. It's all numerical ritual. It's all related. It's all part of the ongoing script. Keep in mind Saturn in Gematria. If you're new here, English Gematria. Manly P. Hall, he revealed it in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Aleister Crowley revealed it in many of his writings. But Manly P. Hall showed you the system for English, the 4 base ciphers, the alphabetic order forwards with numerology, the alphabetic order with reverse, and the alphabetic order with reverse with numerology. Notice how Saturn has the gematria of 93 and 42. Again, Sandra Day O'Connor's dead at 93. Her name is 181, which is the 42nd prime. Saturn is connected to judgment. She was a judge. Saturn's also connected to death. The 21 fits in with her death because she's died exactly 21 weeks after the anniversary of it being announced publicly that she would be the first female Supreme Court justice before, she stepped down. And then, who replaced her was Antonin Scalia, who went out by the code in a mega ritual. Again, you guys, look at Antonin Scalia, the first Roman Catholic justice. We're going to bring up these same numbers when we get to George Santos, who's Roman Catholic, who's out of office 132 days after his birthday. But Antonin Scalia replaced Sandra Day O'Connor. And you remember what day he died? He died on the 13th day of the second month. Antonin Scalia, 132. You run it in reverse, 219. His body laid in repose on February 19th after his 13/2 death. And again, Roman Catholics, the same thing. 132, 219. Catholic Church also has the 132. So does United States of America, which again was named on September 9th, 1776, 132 days from the establishment of the Illuminati on May 1st by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt when the Jesuits served the Roman Catholic Church. And again, the church has been in control of the UK, where Aleister Crowley, the occultist, comes from, for way longer than he's been around. Again, that's how you just follow the thread, the red Kabbalah thread all throughout history, and how it all goes back to the church. But Sandra Day O'Connor, look what happens when you run her name the other way. Sandra Day O'Connor, 181 like we just talked about, also 73 like sacrifice, also 89 in the same cipher as Aleister Crowley, who again died 89 days from Israel being drawn up on 9/3. But the 251 matters a lot because she's dead on her 251st day of her age. 251 is the 54th prime. Remember the Queen. The Queen died on the 251st day of the year, and this morning all the headlines got her up in purple. But the thing about 251 being the 54th prime, super important because Saturn, which has the 93 connection, which is connected to death and judgment, and we're coming up on Saturnalia. It starts December 17th. But you get the best view of Saturn every 54 weeks from Earth. The way the orbital cycle is, every 54 weeks you get the best view of Saturn, which is the 93 planet. And what's the other thing that just slipped out of my mind right now? The 73 matters because sacrifice and ritual sacrifice are 73. 73 is the 21st prime number. Again, she's dead exactly 21 weeks after it was announced publicly on July 7th that she'd become the first female Supreme Court justice. And 77, the ritual, think about it. The nation's capital on the 77th Meridian West. Let's not even get started on Flight 77 on 9/11 into the 77-foot-tall Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off. Flight 93 on that day. But United States, of course, is 77, like secret society. And if you read the story about Sandra Day O'Connor, she got the phone call from Reagan the day before, July 6th, which is the 187th day of the year. Or what did I just say? July 6th is the 187th day of the year. Washington, D.C., of course, is 187, like George Washington, like Holy Roman Empire, like Brotherhood of Death, just skull and bones, like Society of Jesus, which is the Jesuits, like ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, the way they etch it on the temple in DC, 187, but just 187, huge number in DC. She got the call on July 6th, the 187th day of the year, that she'd become the first female Supreme Court Justice. Remember, Ruth Bader Ginsburg just recently died on the 187th day of her age. Henry Kissinger just died on the 187th day of his age. And a million other examples. So again, this is the point about how every day, if you watch my videos, we're talking about the same numbers, the same stuff, over and over, how these numbers are so important to these high rituals, and that's why they show up all the time. But yes, all of the numbers in her name factor into today's death. Notice her birthday is March 26th. How many hours do you have to rewind my videos to, again, bring up March 26th? We were just talking about how Jordan's 44-year-old Italian wife is born March 26th and why that matters. Why Nancy Pelosi, an Italian's born March 26th. Why Eazy-E died on that day in history. Why this date's so important. So notice the first female Supreme Court Justice born on March 26th, which is 26/3, like 263, the 56th prime. Washington, D.C., also 56, just like Society of Jesus. Occultism, you know, what Aleister Crowley was an expert in, 56. The word cult is in occultism. Cult, 56. Think about all the rituals in the time of COVID. The people in high places saying 56 this, 56 that. From Trump to Cuomo to Boris Johnson to Gavin Newsom to Anthony Fauci to Klaus Schwab to the rest of them. All the 56s as they changed the world by scaring them with the 99% survivable coronavirus. You know? But yeah, again, you learn the knowledge, you learn the numbers that matter to these people, and you see how they're just omnipresent, and the rituals just persist day after day after day. And I mean, again, somebody has like a paragraph long response this morning about how they can't take my work seriously because I'm using more than one cipher, and then they have another paragraph how if I was just using one cipher, then people would agree. Again, I don't know why it's amazing how many people have really small IQs but will write paragraphs of bullshit in response. It's like, do you morons watch what I'm showing you? One cipher would not expose what's going on. Manly P. Hall laid this out in 1926. This is the system. We did not invent this. I'm the person who looked into it, read about it, and then exposed it. No, not just one cipher would make it legitimate. That's something that a small itty-bitty brain with no IQ, a little peon mind thinks, okay? You little peon minds, are you watching right now? It's not one cipher that would legitimize it. This is the system. I mean, what don't you guys get? What don't you get? Is it because you're so stupid and it just bounces off your brain? I just explained to you how every single cipher fits in perfectly with the history and the ritual of her death. Some moron will leave another paragraph response. If you only would have covered the 89 Aleister Crowley, then I would have believed it. Okay, little mental midget. I can't help that you guys have such small IQs. There's a reason you guys march into 7-Eleven and drink Go Yum products and eat Go Yum food. Okay? It's the same reason you can't comprehend 4 simple ciphers based on elementary addition. Okay? That's the real problem. It's the same reason you don't know anything about anything. It's why you can be lied to every day with the most biggest whoppers of lies there ever were, and you swallow them all. Oh yeah, back in the day, bushes burned and talked to people. People could live inside the belly of a fish. God sent mortal men to die on a cross, and that's all you need to believe in. All of this stuff is from the same collective cabal that feeds you nonsensical bullshit and says believe in it or else, or you're a bad person. Low IQs, goyim, just like it's written about in the Talmud. That's the real problem, not 4 ciphers. 4 ciphers is the truth of what's going on. So anyway, for the record, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Again, you guys are probably watching the movie on Netflix right now and not even understanding anything about anything, because that's what the occult does every day. They put the truth in front of your face. Right now, one of the top movies on Netflix that stayed up there for a while is called The Killer, and it begins with the dialogue of an assassin who works for rich people, And again, you listen to the things he says in the beginning, he's essentially explaining the mindset of the occult. And he also drops the do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. But he's like, I can't remember who said that. But again, if you have not seen this movie, The Killer, I'm not asking you to watch it all. If you have Netflix, watch the opening dialogue when he's talking about why he doesn't have a problem being an assassin and killing people for money. He says he knows the ultimate truth that most people do not know, and that's that when you die, nothing happens. So that's his mindset. That doesn't mean that that is the ultimate truth. But I have no doubt that the occult who live this way and do these things and start wars and blow up buildings in New York and blame it on innocent brown people and then send innocent young people from all over the world to go fight brown people for no reason other than to get richer and wealthier and forward their New World Order agenda, I have no doubt that this is exactly what they're all about. And haven't I been explaining this since the beginning? I mean, if you guys have not been here from the beginning, one of the earliest things I locked into was Aleister Crowley, 93, this mindset of do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Again, this was like a lot of the early days of my research and just repetitively talking about the same things. But look at the numbers in there in light of things we're talking about right now. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law with the alphabetic order. 444. Does that remind you of the Jimmy Carter 444-day Iranian hostage crisis that ended the first day of Ronald Reagan coming into office, who appointed Sandra Day O'Connor? How about the 165? Of course, Scottish Rite equals 165. Donald Trump, talk about do what thou wilt, born on the 165th day of the year. New Testament also equals 165. How about 555? Remind you of Washington, D.C., the Pentagon, 5 floors above ground, 5-acre court in the middle, 5-sided, sits across from the Washington Monument that's 555 feet tall. The nation that's been operating this way, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. We're going to kill these brown people over here. We're going to kill these brown people over here. We're going to start this war over here. More brown people over here. Doesn't it make sense, you guys? Isn't it amazing how English equals occult, equals Masonic, equals Jewish, equals white supremacist, equals Jesus Christ, equals Jesus? Isn't it amazing how it just all fits together? English equals gematria, equals energy. Again, you just follow the whole history. You just see how it all came together, right? The whitewashing of history, white Jesus, believing in nonsense, believing things that makes no sense, leave one verse in the Bible that describes Jesus as a darker complected person with hair of wool, but then all the believers of the religion just still celebrate white Jesus even though it doesn't make any sense. The Piltdown Man, the first proof of evolution, another big ritual by the numbers, but it's supposedly Piltdown Man, the lie of 41 years when Piltdown equals 41, like the Jesuit suppression of 41 years. But again, Piltdown Man coming out of the UK, which was used for white supremacy to prove that that's why white people were the most evolved and the most superior, and that was taught as science. Trust the science. Yeah, science in the history has been into white supremacy. Look into Piltdown Man. For all you people who've grown up and just worship science, imagine living back then. For 41 years, you would have been behaving the scientific truth that white man was superior and Piltdown Man was proof of evolution before it was admitted to being a total fraud and hoax. How many other total frauds and hoaxes are so people fully invested in? From their own government to the things you're not allowed to question about World War II to what's going on right now in Israel with all the latest theater by the numbers. Perfectly synced with old Netanyahu, again, which we nailed dead on with another perfect prediction from when the war would go down. Almost got it to the day. Called it on December 29th, and then called it again October 4th. And then on October 4th, we did call it to the day why it would all start on October 7th. But anyway, notice also the last value, 177. Familiar number? Remember what equals 177? The Jesuit order, New World Order, propaganda. The first use of propaganda came from the Catholic Church. Again, if you don't know that, look it up. The first use of the word propaganda was used by the Catholic Church, and it was written very clearly. The Catholic Church intended to spread the propaganda of Christianity. Look it up, you guys. And for anyone who does not know that, look it up, because it's a fact. And remember, Christianity is all centered on 93, and science recently said that they found out exactly what day Jesus was crucified, and it was on the 93rd day of the year, like God's Son equals 93, like Nazareth equals 93, like crucifix equals 93, like how they say the sun is 93 million miles away on average, and the pagans worship the solar man, which equals 93. Again, Aleister Crowley's "Do What Thou Wilt" is not that much is not that far off from what happens to most Christians who do what thou wilt and think all they need to do is believe in this little silly story and then they're holier than thou. Yeah, we can genocide those brown people. They don't even believe in Jesus Christ like us, so we'll do what thou wilt. But yeah, all those numbers, they're not an accident. Captain Tom gets knighted on 17/7, and then he's dead 201 days later from coronavirus. Klaus Schwab, 177, hosts the Event 201 simulation. The Jesuit Order, 201 and 177. Order of Illuminati, 201, founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Again, over and over. Here, let me type in David Ben-Gurion. See if I'm tripping. Oh, shoot. I'm forgetting what it is, actually. I'm tripping a little bit. David Ben-Gurion, of course, 14/5, like Catholic, like the 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. We know he died 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment. 73 is the year he died in. And we are on the anniversary of David Ben-Gurion's death as well. David Ben-Gurion died on this day. He died 26 years after Crowley. Again, he's the first prime minister of Israel. State of Israel also, 201. But I know what I was thinking of. It's Benjamin Netanyahu. That's what I was actually thinking of, the current prime minister. He's got the 177. And again, he disappeared from office June 13th, 2021, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Comes back on 12/29, the 201st prime, the anniversary of Aleister Crowley's, or not Aleister Crowley, but Albert Pike, another famous occultist birthday, who wrote the letter about 3 world wars. Notice how Netanyahu's got the 93 in his name as well. So many things in Israel are 93. The Knesset's 93. Edelstein, who's been their speaker forever, is 93. Iron Dome's a big 93. God, who was the leader of Israel that recently died? Shimon Peres, when he died at age 93. All the world leaders gathered in Israel, and they were all there on September 29th, the day leaving 93 days left in the year. 929, that's how many chapters are in the Jewish Old Testament and Protestant Bibles, 929. And if you guys didn't know this, again, United States of America, which is founded by these same occultists that work by the numbers of the Bible, in Jewish Gematria, United States of America is 929. Remember when Kevin Durant with the 929 birthday got traded to the Golden State Warriors on the nation's birthday? We were talking about why him with his birthday on 7/4. But yeah, that movie, The Killer, right at the beginning, he's dropping all his reasons for why he kills for money, and he even has to reference Aleister Crowley without saying his name. He says he can't remember his name, and there's a reason Hollywood does it like that. They like to tease people, They know not many people are going to be curious enough to be like, let me look up who said that. They're just going to watch the movie. It's going to bounce off their ears. They're waiting for the next explosion, murder scene, sex scene. The only real reason they're watching the movie anyway. They don't know how Hollywood's mocking them every day with every release they put out by the numbers. But, George Santos getting expelled today. I mean, go watch my video from December 29th, 2022, the day that Netanyahu came back. Again, we're laying out exactly when the war in Israel is going to begin, almost to the day. We said around the time Yael turns 322 years old. Again, Israel declared the war the day before Yael turned 322 years old. 322 is huge with Kabbalah. Aleister Crowley, the occult, Kabbalah, the thing. But, remember that 132, because George Santos is getting expelled 132 days after his birthday, like we already talked about. But here's everything we said. This story began at the end of 2022, right? There's 22 chapters in Revelation. Revelation equals 121. Here we are on 12/1 as we write it in the U.S., like Revelation 121. In Revelation 3, you get the story of the Synagogue of Satan, which equals 223, like very similar to the year 2023. But again, we were talking about this with, again, just go watch the video from December 29th, 2022. We laid out the war coming with Israel, the rituals coming with George Santos, and again, the letters written to the Church of Philadelphia about the Synagogue of Satan, 223, and George Santos' real name is Anthony DeVolder, which is 223. And, you know, just like on Kissinger's website, they had to put an A in there for his middle name, Henry A. Kissinger, 223. Somebody had a connection with the thing that was drawn up with Israel. The name of it's also 182, which was a good catch. And again, Kissinger just died on 83 date numerology, 83 years after the New York Times headline about New World Order pledged to Jews, October 6, 1940, right about the time this war just launched. And Henry A. Kissinger's also 88, like Jewish and Beast. And last night, C.D. Lamb in 88. We'll get to what he did with the Cowboys and how it was a tribute to Israel, which we saw coming before the game was played. Congrats to the winners. Smash Thursday Night Football again, which is directly connected to everything going on. But yeah, George Santos, the Revelation ritual, the Synagogue of Satan ritual, and here's the other thing. Again, we're United States of America's 132, like Roman Catholic, like Catholic Church, like what we talked about earlier. Revelation 13:2 is also about the beast. And then when you get to Revelation, 13:18, you're talking about 666. But Revelation 13 is all about the beast. Revelation 13:2, we'll read it in the King James Version in tribute to Aleister Crowley, because we all know Shakespeare wrote the King James Version. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Well, it all comes to an end. He no longer has any of that today. George Santos, your time in this latest ritual paying tribute to the beast is up. And remember, with regards to D.C. being the 47 city, beast is 47. The letters D.C. is 47. Again, government is 47. And think about it, guys. This is what rules over us. This satanic system. Authority is 47. Republican is 47. Again, Whigs 47. Democrats 47. Presidents 47. White House is 47. And on and on and on. And that's why that number is always being used ritualistically in D.C. And again, it's why there's so many satanic connections with authority. This was the plan from the beginning, obviously. Evil people in high places worshiping things that most people are not, and essentially just doing everything for power and control and influence, which are, again, I mean, it fits. The tenets of Satanism are self-worship, to serve yourself before anything else. The U.S. government killing all across the world and doing it in the names of all things that they dupe the people. Well, we had to go over there and kill them because they were communists. Oh, is that why we had to go over there and kill them? That was the reason, huh? Well, what is communism anyway? I thought communism was like when government was choosing who gets to be the ruling class and keeping everybody kind of in a lower slave state where they all serve government equally. I mean, it's not quite that here in America, but it pretty much is. It's total fascism. I mean, you start to look at all these things, they're all related. Fascism, communism, or branded democracy, that none of them are that separate. There's no freedom going on in America. What are you free to choose between like spicy Cheetos and regular Cheetos? Is that the kind of freedom that you have in America? It is. You're not free to do what you want to do. You want to go start a business? Try cutting through all the red tape. See if you can afford all the fees that you need to send to the government to start that business. You want to buy a house and make a change on it? I learned the hard way. When I bought my first house, the people who'd had the house before, they'd put a deck on the back of the house. And the deck, they had to cut out a spot to put it around the gas meter on the back of the house where they come and make the reading. And I don't know if they'd gone to the previous owner and told them they needed to tear down their deck because they didn't get a permit. But I had the city show up at my house, and they must have been aware of it right after it changed ownership. And they said I needed to tear the deck down right away, or there could be this consequence, this consequence, this consequence. And I was like, what the hell? Couldn't believe how the city came to my door and knew about all that. But, I mean, that's not freedom, right? I can't even choose what deck is in my backyard because it goes around their gas meter and it makes it slightly... It wasn't hard for them to read. You could still read everything. But we're not free in America, you guys. America's... You have to get permission to do everything. The government makes the rules. It's not based on your vote at all. You're living this illusion that you're having any influence on elections, which you're not. It's all a rigged, sick show. And the satanic psychopaths starting the next war, sacrificing the next person day after day by the same number code, and people can't wake up to it. I mean, how didn't everybody just wake up on 9/11? Obvious lie. Buildings don't come down like that in a perfect demolition. And on 9/11 of all days? I mean, come on. But yeah, here, let's also go over the football game last night in prime time. The Dallas Cowboys get to 9-3 before they play the Philadelphia Eagles, which equals 93. But look at what score they win with, you guys. I just want you to think about it. What president was number 41 that died in Texas on the day of this game in history? Oh, yeah, that's right. George Herbert Walker Bush, who has all the connections to Crowley. And we were talking about this back then. That was part of the reason we said he wouldn't live past November 30th, 2018. 11 plus 30, 41. Let's not forget Paul Walker died on this day, who starred in the movie about Skull and Bones. But look at it, you guys. Look at the score. 41 on the death anniversary of number 41, who's buried in Texas, to 35. And, of course, we call it 35 Thursday. In this game, Dak Prescott got his 41st career home win, and Geno Smith got his 35th career regular season loss. And 41 to 35, you add it together, that's 76 points, isn't it? Skull and Bones equals 149, which is the 35th prime. Skull and Bones equals 41, like George Herbert Walker Bush was number 41. Skull and Bones equals 202, which is the D.C. area code where a lot of Skull and Bones people are, but also George Herbert Walker Bush, born on June 12th, the day leaving 202 days left in the year. And don't forget, the 202nd minute of the day is 3:22 in the morning, and order 322 is Skull and Bones. But Skull and Bones also 76. Again, last night's score, 41 to 35, 76 points. George Walker Bush, the son, his birthday is July 6th. We know the Georgia Guidestones that were put up on 322 in history, they came down on 7-6 on Bush's 76th birthday. And we know that the 119th World Series, which we just got a nice 50-1 payout on because we took the Rangers on day one of the season for the World Series. And yes, we did take a few other teams for anyone who'd be like, well, you also put spots down on the Astros and the Rays, and at the end of the season, the Orioles. Yeah, that's true. We did cover all four of those teams in the AL to win the World Series, but the first two we had were the Astros and the Rangers. And you know what? If you put $100 on all four of those teams, you would have lost $300 on the three that didn't hit, and you would have won $5,000 on the one that did. So for everyone who wants to complain about the strategy, it's because you're a moron and a mental midget, and you probably also have a problem with the four ciphers on the screen that we explained a million times. And I can't do anything about that. I can't do anything about the people who are mental midgets and too dumb to see the obvious, which is right in front of their face every single day. But I do my best to try and pull you guys out of it. But then you want to come here and be like, oh, but four ciphers. Yeah, moron. Did you pay attention to the latest lesson on four ciphers? Because I'm giving good ones every day. Anyway, last night, remember the 119th World Series where Bush threw out the first pitch. It ended on his 119th day of his age. The series was 4-1. Last night, the Cowboys became 11-9 versus Seattle. And how many times have I talked about how important Seattle is to 9/11? Because the man who drew up the towers, the World Trade Center, a Japanese man from Seattle. Remember, you had kamikaze pilots on 9/11, like they called it the new Pearl Harbor, like Japan with the Pearl Harbor kamikazes. But you had the man from Japan design the towers. You had Magnuson Klemenkic Associates, the engineering firm from Seattle, helped build the towers. And you had Boeing planes supposedly from Seattle, where the founder of Boeing is also a member of Skull and Bones. And then there's also the Seattle-Washington 68 piece, like how the whole plan went into motion in 68 when George W. Bush graduated from Skull and Bones. But anyway, you got the Cowboys becoming 11-9 versus Seattle last night in this ritual at the time of Israel's 9/11, where Israel is the Lone Star flag, and we're talking about Texas, the Lone Star state. And wasn't it just 2 days ago now that again, we just talked about this. Miriam Adelson, hardcore Zionist. She lost her husband, Sheldon Adelson, exactly 150 weeks before she bought the Dallas Mavericks, and then she got the Mavericks on her 51st day of her age, and the Mavericks were founded on May 1st, 5/1, the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment. But if you watch my video on that from Wednesday, we talked about what it also had to do with the Cowboys, and the history of Bush, and Ross Perot, and now Mark Cuban, and now Mark Cuban handing over the team to her. And like I've said for all these years about Mark Cuban, I guarantee you that guy, he didn't do anything in life other than be in the right place at the right time to get chosen as the actor on the world stage. Mark Cuban's another nobody puppet actor, another fraud supposed owner of a league that's not controlled by people like him. It's controlled by people like the Adelsons, who probably really run the whole team the whole time. That's probably the big joke. I wouldn't be surprised if Sheldon Adelson has been the owner of the Mavericks the whole time, and you get this little character, Mark Cuban. Remember, this is going on the same day that they're transferring the team, the same day that Kissinger's dying, and Kissinger's connected to the Cuban Missile Crisis. And again, it's nothing but high ritual and mockery of the Goyim people, truly. And look now, yesterday's headline in the NBA that LeBron's manager is in trouble for making illegal bets on the NBA with an illegal bookie instead of using the Sheldon Adelson casinos in Las Vegas. And his name is Maverick Carter. And he gets in trouble 51 days after his birthday, 1 day after the acquisition of the Mavericks by the casino family. And again, the Mavericks just had the biggest ritual on the anniversary of JFK's assassination, which happened in Dallas. The Mavericks just became 6-3 away, beating LA days ago, like Kennedy killed in 63. Like last year, we're talking about the dead Kennedy's drummer, dead at age 63, 111 days from his birthday. And notice how Kennedy's got the Gematria 111, and so does dead Kennedy's. You know, it's just ritualism everywhere. RFK, the Jesuit puppet, RFK Jr., his children's defense fund is another big 111 thing. But yeah, I mean, how obvious. 35 Thursday, like we always teach about. Cowboys get to 9-3, symbolic number. Year they won the Super Bowl. Remember, they won the Super Bowl right after Clinton came into office, and Clinton partly won because of Ross Perot, who had the Mavericks, but sold it to Mark Cuban. It's just... Yeah, so again, if you missed our live stream yesterday, very lucrative live stream. We had we thought the Seahawks would lose by 7. They ended up losing by 6, which makes a bit of sense. Saturn's the 6th planet. Saturn is the 93 planet, so I can understand losing by 6 to the Cowboys. Dallas wins with 41 points in the first game of NFL Week 13. Dallas equals 41-13. The only other city like that with that connection's LA, which is doing the ritual with Maverick Carter right after, and they just had the ritual with, again, JFK. But think about it. Dallas 41-13, 41 the 13th prime. This ritual goes down on November 30th, 11/30. Dallas is also 113. So this is why Dallas is in prime time, as we talked about. This is why it's a perfect day for them to be in prime time. 13's the 6th prime, 6-point win. Saturn, the 6th planet. Again, get to 9-3 like the year they won the Super Bowl when Clinton came into office. It's all connected. And again, Texas's birthday as a state is 12/29. What day did Netanyahu come back for the Lone Star flag in Israel? 12/29. Not an accident, because the United States and Israel are controlled by the same exact occult forces that have been building this New World Order. And don't forget, again, the New World Order is Catholic. That's why we're on their calendar. They're a sun cult. They say the sun's 93 million miles away. Look at Order of Illuminati, 93, right? This number is all important. Order of Illuminati 201, the 93 World Trade Center bombing. Then what happens? 2 towers become 0 before they became 1. The Twin Towers become 1 World Trade Center. 1 World Trade Center, 93, right? And again, just these fraud, for all you guys who are like, well, how do they go out and act so well? It's just like, I don't know. Are you guys retarded? I mean, aren't there good actors in the world? Don't you sit around and watch good acting all the time? Aren't you watching shows and movies and pro sports? I mean, they're all paid the same. They're all good actors. And it's all obvious theater. I mean, like, I don't understand the things people are hung up on. It's like, how low is your IQ? Like, how bad are you at connecting dots? Have you ever wondered why actors are the highest paid people in the world? Why are actors the highest paid people in the world? Have you ever considered phrases that you use all the time, like the world is a stage, the theater of war, political theater? Do you watch these football games where they're saying in every game, like nearly every game, Oh, yeah, this coach likes to come out and script the first 30 plays of the game. They couldn't have scripted it any better. Oh, they flipped the script. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's just maddening at how dumb society is. It's like, these people are really fucking dumb. I mean, you can't even put into words how dumb they are. Everything is an obvious lie in front of their face that makes no sense, but then they just go along with it because the authorities told it to them. If a guy's in a suit with his hair parted real nice, or a woman's in the blouse with her hair looking real nice, talking real nice. And I just hate watching news and the way they emphasize words. This morning, Israel with the very destructive bombing on Gaza resumes. Chaos and carnage. Right back after this commercial break. It's like, God, who talks like this? Why is that what you listen to and you think is real? If I met you in person, I just started talking to you. Did you see the carnage and chaos this morning in Israel? You'd think I was a weirdo. But then you watch it on TV and you're like, oh yeah, that's normal. Well, that's what's legitimate. That's what's true. As nobody brings up any of the obvious. I mean, where's the investigative journalism? I thought the whole point of the First Amendment and a free press was to do investigative journalism. I feel like everyone should be like, this highly influential Aleister Crowley, it's weird how every year there seems to be something to just clearly paying tribute to his death. Now Sandra Day O'Connor at 93. I mean, this guy worshiped the number 93. Like, you think they'd be having me on? Man, Zachary K. Hubbard laid all this out a year ago about George Santos and Revelation and the Synagogue of Satan. Now it all just ends on the most perfect day as we get to Satan month, the first day of December when we worship Santa. Satan, 55, right? Santa, 55. George Santos, 55. George Santos, also 145 like Catholic, like the 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament that Revelation's based on. You know? Theater. George Santos is an actor. Nearly all of them are. Donald Trump, definitely an actor. Highest degree of the Church of Satan, mega. Donald Trump, the self-worshipper. January 6th, the giant 201 ritual in tribute to Albert Pike and the Civil War and its history. That's why it was on 6/1, like the Civil War began in 61. So yeah, I was just reading some more about Aleister Crowley, and I learned something new. His main man was named Francis Israel Regardi. And he changed the spelling of his last name. Again, do you think he changed the spelling of his last name so that his name would equal 201 by accident? I mean, you'd have to be kind of dumb to think that that's what he did, that was just an accident. Again, these people studied Jewish mysticism. 201, right? And also 93 and 69, which are numbers of the Illuminati. All of them are. 201, 93, 69, all numbers of the Illuminati. Order of Illuminati. 201 and 93, Illuminati, 69, Saturn, which is Satan, which the occult worships, 93, 69. But he changes his name so the spelling is 201. Look, his birth surname was spelled a little bit different. It was Regudy, R-E-G-U-D-Y. Changed it to Regardi for the 201. And again, I mean, just Aleister Crowley and, British controlled Palestine, and then State of Israel's created, and then the letters addressed to the Rothschild who ends up dying on the 201st day of his age. These are just further evidence of, yes, this is the code. Yes, this is what they're doing. Crowley's death was for Israel. It was a sacrifice for Israel. And at age 72, and again, the Jesuit Order 201, you drop the part, Jesuit Order 72. At Crowley's age of death. And again, Crowley was into what they called chaos magic. Aleister Crowley, 89, from Israel being drawn up on 9/3 again to his death was 89 days later. He worshipped 93, again drawn up on 93. Now we're talking about Sandra Day O'Connor, 73 and 89, just like Aleister Crowley. And 73 is considered the most important number in Hebrew Gematria because of Genesis 1:1. But again, 89. Religion, 89. Chaos, 89. The Gospel, 89 chapters. King James with his Bible, 89. Also UK. History connected to the Jesuits is with King James and them trying to blow up British Parliament on November 5th, which is the date of the election next year, which is going to be a mega Jesuit ritual sync with Trump. So, yeah. And you know what's interesting about his main assistant being born November 17th? Again, that's the day leaving 44 days left in the year. Crowley wasn't really into magic with a K. Magic with a K is 44, right? His main associate with the name Israel, born on the day leaving 44 days left in the year, like Israel's 44, like Zion's 44, again, like military's 44, like Netanyahu's 44, like, again, Theodore Herzl, dead at age 44, 44 years before the creation of Israel. So I was missing this piece the whole time. This is the new thing I learned this morning, just looking more into Crowley. His main man, Francis Israel Regardi. And you know where they work together at? In France. Where's the first what's the first Jesuit pope's name? Pope Francis. Again, and what's his name? Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201. When spelled correctly. What am I missing? I'm missing an R. Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201. First Jesuit pope, first to live in Suite 201. The last French pope where the Jesuits were created. The last French pope was the 201st. This guy's working with Crowley in France, changing his name so it's 201. And by the way, if you're new here and you see some retard make a video about me that goes, Zach doesn't tell you that he lives in house number 201, just realize that's a retarded troll who knows that I live in house number 201 because I divulged that we ended up moving into house number 201, not because we're occultists or in the Illuminati, but out of a really weird thing that happened a little more than a year ago where all kinds of crazy synchronicities happened. But again, there is, like, from talking and teaching about the number so much, there is some kind of accidental sorcery. And again, last year I was on my trip driving across the nation, educating about the number 201. And then Sweet Lady found out that she got moved her job location to 50 miles away to a really small town. And there were only like 3 homes to look at in the area, and 2 of them were suitable, but one had a huge lot, which was a lot to maintain, and it was very dark out there with no lit roads, and she didn't feel safe about that in light of the crap we've been through. And the only home to her that seemed suitable in the area that she'd want to live in happened to be a house number 201. I was like, this is too weird. But anyway. So, yeah, it's just annoying that you share these stories and information. And again, the reason I do that is because there is an organic side of the code and there is a sorcery and accidental sorcery type of the code. But yeah, just the moronic trolls that just lie. Again, like they're from Satan. Like they just lie. They're like, I'm going to say that Zach never divulged this, even though I learned that from listening to Zach tell the story. Again, you guys, pay attention to how all the people who attack me are just like the things that I expose. They're liars who invert the truth and use information as a weapon. And some of you guys who get fooled by that, again, what I have to say is anyone fooled by my trolls and detractors, it's because you're not clear up here. Your third eye doesn't work. You have poor discernment skills. You have poor instincts. You can't resonate with what truth is. You can't resonate with what real passion is. You can't resonate with what real research is. And that's a lot of you. And that's why the world is where it is. You're led by darkness. You believe and authorities who lie to you when they gave you the word believe with lie right in the middle with the obscure spelling. And again, not to gloat, but I've always been immune to all of it. I've seen through all of it from the time I was a child. I was never fooled by authority, not by religion, not by school, not by bullshit history, not by news stories that didn't make sense. It just never sat right with me. I said, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. I'm going to question that too. I'm not going to be afraid of that. Most people, they're just eating up everything from the authorities. Oh my God, I got to believe in this or I'm going to burn in the hellfire. I got to believe in this or I'm a bad American. I got to believe in this or I'm going to get the cooties virus. Again, this is the weak society in darkness, ruled over by the masters of darkness, which was one of Aleister Crowley's nicknames. The guy that's been so influential in so many things, including the world of music and entertainment. Most don't know about any of this when they worship the rock and roll bands that were so invested in Crowley. And what all happened? Again, is it an accident that all the rock bands in the UK are super into Crowley and rock equals 47 and he died in the year 47? And again, it's another number of the high ritual. This Francis Regardi, he died on March 10th. Another very interesting date. Jesuits 103, Osama bin Laden's birthday, Pan Am 103. So he died 3 months and 22 days into his age, reminding us of Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and 3 Pillars and 22 Paths and Genesis 3:22, which mentions it, and the founder of the Illuminati dying on the 322nd day of the year. For the record, the other thing that Crowley founded, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, that equals 150, like Illuminati, like the sun's 150 million kilometers away on average, like heliocentrism equals 150 and 201, and in alchemy, the sun is gold, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, dawn dictated by where the sun is, and AU, the abbreviation for gold in Jewish gematria is 201. 150, 201. Aleister Crowley. Alec Baldwin smokes the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Russia-Ukraine's big 201 ritual. But again, that happened 201 days after Baldwin's birthday, the man born on the 93rd day of the year. And they said it happened at 1:50 p.m. local time. That's Illuminati. And again, Illuminati's 48. New Mexico, where it happened, is 48. Not an accident. Not an accident. And let's not forget Donald Trump, who's part of this Jesuit Illuminati cabal, is Mr. 48, who Alec Baldwin was portraying. And, Trump says if he was in there, this whole Russia-Ukraine thing wouldn't have happened. And Donald Trump 60 the other way. Let's not forget what happened 60 weeks into the Jesuit Ignatian year. All the Trump headlines on that day, including his dead wife right before the 60th election. But yeah, here, one day after we break it down, the massive ritual with the Mavericks, and then next thing you know, it's Maverick Carter. Not only the Maverick thing, right? We got the Carter thing in there, and we know Jimmy Carter's about to be announced at any moment. He looked like he was totally dead at the funeral. If Jimmy, isn't it? That's what it just makes you start to wonder about the sorcery and the spell casting and the selling your soul. It's like, is Jimmy Carter and all these old guys that are just like maintained in this state before they have their ritualistic deaths? Are they being kept alive with like medical advancements, or is it something else? Is it like the fall of the House of Usher? Which is it? And I don't want to down talk Jimmy Carter too much, because if we ever had a president that was a decent human being, it probably was Jimmy Carter. But at the same time, it's obvious he's part of this cabal. Nobody gets in that White House without being a part of it. But the things that Jimmy Carter modeled while he was in the office, good characteristics. And of course, the most satanic political party, and they're both evil, don't make it seem like I'm favoring one over the other. But the most satanic party is the Republican Party. It's the me party, which is the first tenet of Satanism. And literally their symbol is a downward pointed, 5-pointed star, which is like a satanic pentagram. Again, if the pentagram points up, it's not satanic, but if the star points down, it's satanic, just like the Republican logo. And again, the Republicans always trashed Jimmy Carter like he was some horrible piece of shit. But if you go back and listen to the things he said, he was really just about, equality and human rights and making the earth a better place and healing wounds in humanity. He didn't really have anything that was divisive his language is not... If everybody just talked like Jimmy Carter, I don't see how there could ever be a war, So, remember, one of Jimmy Carter's first things to do was to put solar panels on the White House. And if you don't know this, the first thing that Ronald Reagan did, his first order, even before ending the Iranian hostage crisis on the same day, Ronald Reagan's first order as president was to tear down the solar panels. Why? Why? A clean source of energy? Mr. Hollywood, GOP, big oil party. So... Ronald Reagan, he's the greatest president we ever had. Again, the former president of the Actors Guild from Hollywood, who was the 33rd governor when Hollywood equals 33. And the year that Reagan became president, the Republicans gained 33 Republicans in the House. Again, it's go back and look at the headlines, you guys. It's been the same Masonic shit the whole time. Masonry 33, secrecy 33, order 33, federal 33, Hollywood. And what's Hollywood, right? Hollywood. Because druids, magicians, occultists cast spells through the branch of the holly tree, right? The magical world of Disney. Disney, De Molay, Knights Templar, also part of this. Yeah, I mean, it's just like you're getting decked in the face. He's in trouble for gambling at a place that's not a Sheldon Adelson casino. That's pretty much what Vegas is. It's pretty much Sheldon Adelson's casinos. So if he would have went to one of the Adelson casinos who just bought the Mavericks, then Maverick Carter wouldn't be in trouble. And by the way, remember, the Carters left office in 81. Rosalind Carter's dead right after Biden's 81st birthday, the man who supposedly got 81 million votes. And now Sandra Day O'Connor, who took office in 81 federally, is dead. 42 years later, you know. Let me see if anything else has happened yet on December 1st. I mean, you think about what a joke this is, you guys. Just the theater of politics. George Santos has been paid a salary from all of us, the taxpayers, for this ritual. And somehow, some way, these rituals are meant to provide legitimacy for our government. Oh, see, when a liar gets in there, then we do something about it. That's the reason. It's just like Major League Baseball. Everybody's on steroids. And then they make an example out of a few people to make it seem like everyone's not on steroids. The same thing, NCAA college football. Everyone does steroids in NCAA Division I football, like literally everybody. But occasionally they'll bust a team or they'll bust some players. All of this is the illusion of legitimacy. And what this really is was a planned ritual from day one to bring this about. And again, paying tribute to the Synagogue of Satan. And just think about it, you guys. This guy literally lied about everything is the story, right? He lied about where he went to school. He lied about who he worked for. You have to get so much money and so many people behind you to run for Congress in this nation. Can you imagine not getting vetted when your whole resume is nothing but lies? I mean, try it yourself and see if you'd even ever stand a chance. It would never happen. You'd be found out so fast, it would never happen. This story is as believable as a 9/11 or what supposedly just happened on October 7th in Israel or supposedly what's going on in Russia, Ukraine. All of these stories are contrived, total bullshit. 100%. And, it's pathetic. So... Hey, we got some super chatters today. That's the other thing, too. I've been out here for all of October saying things that nobody else in the world has the courage to say because they're worried about getting cut off financially and getting destroyed. And in these very powerful, undeniable live streams I've been doing, there's been almost no donations, which is fine. That's not the reason I get on here to do it. But it also just shows part of the reason that nobody speaks up and does the right things because there's just nothing behind it. There's just nothing that you can personally get for your own life by doing it, other than consequences and punishment, which has pretty much been what it's been for me for doing this for the last decade. So, again, those of you guys out there who do have an extra dollar in your pocket, who could actually support the Patreon, maybe help change the world by supporting the one person in the world. And I don't think that's an arrogant statement to say either. The one person in the world right here, yours truly, who's been doing this for a decade on a level never before seen. Maybe get behind this person in the giving season and actually help build this thing and make more people go like, whoa, he's doing that. I want to do that. Hey, if people get into it for, again, I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Doing the right things in this world brings nothing but problems. Just going along with the flow and selling out and that's what people do because that's where the reward is. I've never been that person. I'm here for truth and justice because I'm sick of the lies and living in a world that, again, I want my childhood back. I'm mad that I had to be in a slave classroom for all the years that I knew it was from the time I was young. I knew it was bullshit when I turned 7. I started to realize how wrong it was when I was 7. And again, it's not that I didn't like learning. It's just that I realized school was boring. It was teaching bullshit that didn't make sense. When I was 7, I was like, how could Christopher Columbus discover a land where people already live? That doesn't make any sense, teacher. Come around with the ruler if it would have been 20 years earlier and would have smacked me. Because he did. Circle it on the test. But, I mean, that's been me since I was 7. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense, Sunday school teacher. That doesn't make any sense, school teacher. I'm mad that I had to live in this world getting taught bullshit to indoctrinate my mind, wasting my time. I wish I could have been allowed to learn on my own. What are you into, Zach? You're a bright young boy. What are you into? Here's some books that you're into. I wish that would have happened, where I could have gone on a path and pursued and spent my time learning about things that I actually wanted to learn about that would have been relevant to my life, rather than all the bullshit that they wanted to put in my head and your head and what happened to all of our heads in 13 years of slave school, pledging to 13 stripes, learning about the greatest nation there ever was with the freedom that came out of 13 colonies as they mock you every day with this number. Oh, look what happened in Afghanistan and the 13 troops that died. Oh, look how Israel just got 13 more Israeli hostages. 13 more Israeli hostages. Look at your money with all the 13s on it. Where was that lesson in school? It makes me so mad that in 13 years of school, we never learned about the Masons who venerate 13 and how many founders were Masons and parts of secret society. How's it even possible? How's it even possible that we spend so much time in school learning so much bullshit and we don't learn something about the Masons when nearly every founder was one, including the man who the Capitol's named after? People are so like, what do you mean the occult and secret society? That sounds like a conspiracy theory. That is, when you hear people like that, which is almost everyone, that is the programming. That was the planned retardation of humanity. And you see it all around you. Just these fat, dumb, sloppy people who don't care about themselves, who don't know about anything, who just believe what's on the TV. It's sickening. A society ruled by the Synagogue of Satan, raised by the Synagogue of Satan. But thank you, Abra. She says, you, Zach, please keep the good work up. You are making a big positive difference. I appreciate the enthusiasm, and you know, I think we would have made a huge, big, positive difference if it weren't for the censorship. I know I say that all the time, but again, we were reaching a lot of people once upon a time. It's just like my video on Bush's death got 1 million views in 24 hours. Now I can't even get 5,000 views. I know that the views are fake. Part of the reason I can see that the views are fake and can prove it is because if you watch, if you're on Patreon and you watch a Gematria Effect Sports live stream, you'll see that there's like 100 and some people in there when we're doing it on Patreon. And then when the video ends, it'll say like 20 people watched the video. So it's like, 150 people were in the live stream, but it shows that there were only 20 views, huh? Well, that's got to be fake. So, again, the views that we're getting, we don't know. But I know that it's not reaching that many people. Otherwise, there'd be more supporters coming in. My Patreon rapidly grew to support when we got views. And now that we don't get any views, we don't see the support. We just see the support staying steady and actually slowly going down over time because the people who've been riding with me, they're falling off because things are getting more expensive. They're giving up on the world. They don't see enough change despite all that I'm doing. And it's too bad. But I understand why that is. When you're not bringing in fresh blood to help out and the people who've been around who can't afford to afford or who are giving up because the world's just too dark, I mean, those things are going to happen. There's only so many people who are tough enough and down for the cause to be here grinding day after day like yours truly. And that's why I say the one person in the world who's been doing it. If I'm wrong about that, let me know who else has been out here every single day for over a decade proving exactly what I am proving, which needs to be proven if anything's ever going to change. And for all you guys who don't think that's worth supporting, I guess, again, here's my message to everyone who will not support what I'm doing, which is most people. Like I told you guys a long time ago, if you don't help yours truly get this word out to change the world, because again, well, what message is more powerful out there that's actually going to change the world? Let me know if you have the answer to that, because I don't think there is one. But if you don't help me change this world, if you don't help me, it's just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And that means worse quality of life. That means everything's way more expensive. That means more taxation without representation. That means more wars that you might become the victim of. You might be the next casualty of war, you know? That's what it means. And I've been saying that for a long time, and you're watching it. Look how much more expensive life is in just the last 3-4 years because we didn't stop the agenda. And couldn't the agenda of 2020 have been stopped if everybody was following us? Didn't we call out what was coming in 2020 5 years before it happened? Yes, we did. We knew exactly what was coming in 2020, 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers, because we know who works by the 19-year cycle of the moon. Again, you guys, it might sound arrogant, it might sound self-righteous, but it's also all true. Yours truly figured it out like nobody else ever did and has laid it out and taught it in a way that people can understand, and we need to get more people to understand. And that's only going to happen with more awareness and more ways to get it out. And like I said, we need major funding so that we can, like I said when we were in New York City, I said what we need here is we need like GematriaEffectNews as one of these buildings in Times Square, belting out the truth every day in Times Square. But you look at what rent costs for a place in Times Square. I mean, the rent's like $100,000 a month. Who can afford that? That's $1.2 million a year in rent. Well, like I said, we can afford that if everyone's pledging $1 a month. There should be well over 1 million Americans who see how fucked up the system is and want to end it and change it. And again, not just in Times Square. We should have an office like that in Washington, D.C. We should have one like that in every major city. There should be GematriaEffectNews team members and employees in every office getting out the word every day. That's the way it should be. The people ridicule the vision I have, but it's like, why? Why do you ridicule that? Then the morons come, why don't you just gamble every day and pay for it all yourself? It's like, what kind of moronic response is that? So I should spend all my time decoding sports and not on what's going on in the world and then make all the money myself and then put out all the information myself? What kind of loser question is that? Why do so many losers come here and ask that question? Because there's so many losers. You want me to do everything? That's something a loser would want. Somebody to do every last thing for him. The world's full of losers, you guys, and that's not a wrong thing to say either, because it is. This stuff that's going on in the world, it wouldn't happen if the world wasn't full of losers. I mean, here, what's your definition of a loser? Here, let me tell you some of my definitions. People who don't care about the truth. People who don't care about being lied to every day. People who don't care about all these unjust wars and all the murders around the world through these wars that should have never happened, that are meant to make the ruling class super rich and more powerful. Losers don't care about any of these things, and who in America cares about them? Almost nobody, a nation of losers. That needs to change. It doesn't mean it can't change. It's a nation of losers because they've been raised by evil losers. It's only going to change if people want to change it. Shout out to Amy. She says, press secretary stormed off yesterday for headlines, 201 days from anniversary of taking office and 258 days from her birthday, of course. Yeah, Order of Illuminati 201 and 258. Yeah. And you know, I'm sure just in light of her representing, you know, the politicians and it being the 113 day, just politics, right? I'm sure that's part of it too. If you don't know about the Talmud and 113, learn about it. So Abra with the donation and the membership. I appreciate it, Abra. I wish there were 1 million more like you. I mean, imagine that, you guys. Imagine there were 1 million people here watching right now that all pledged $5 and became a member at $1 a month. Boom. Now we're rolling. We're opening up the office in Times Square, D.C., everywhere, L.A., right across from the Staples Center. We'll educate about what they did to Kobe Bryant every day until the whole city of L.A. knows and they stop going to the crypt to watch the rigged games, the latest LeBron ritual, you know? And we had a big impact when we were down there in LA in April, man. You should have seen. We got the Clippers fans, like almost every single one coming out of the stadium after the. We told them why they were losing on the way in, and then when they were coming out and they did lose and they were eliminated, we had them all stopped in their tracks listening. Because like, why do you guys keep paying for these games? I mean, Kawhi Leonard sitting out all your games. Doesn't that seem weird? You pay him, what, 30-some million a year, and then he's not going to play in the playoffs, one of the best players in the NBA? Don't you guys get sick of getting humiliated every year and the stuff that just doesn't make any sense? Those fans were stopping and listening. Some of them are not going to be at the game next year because the light bulb went off. That's why we got to be out there every day. And when I say we, I mean this community, the community that knows what's going on, the community that comes with facts and proof. Not all these frauds out here that get the attention. Like I just ranting about Ole Demigard the other day. That guy, nobody needs to know Ole Demigard's name. What did he... Tell me one relevant thing Ole Demigard brought to the truth community that reveals anything. Oh, well, he said there's something about shoes and shootings. What does that do? Okay, shoes and mass shootings. What are you going to do with that? Oh, they do something with shoes at mass shootings? Is that helpful? Okay, what did the shoes at mass shootings reveal to you? Oh, nothing? Right. Why do people know this guy's name? Because he has claims that he comes from a family of like James Bond, that his parents were spies? Who cares? Yeah, he probably is that's probably why we do know his name. He probably is from the intelligence community. He's just here spewing bullshit. Oh, did you hear Ole Demigard's on? I heard he's famous. Shoes and shootings. Again, everybody bringing him on the JFK anniversary to talk about what he knows about JFK, which is absolutely zip zero, not a nothing. Look at everything we know about JFK. Undeniable evidence of the ritual of JFK and how it connects to RFK and a million other assassinations that all lead back to the cabal, the Jesuits. That's undeniable. Anyway. Great eyes as always, Amy. Shout out to Gematria Sense again. Thank you, Gematria Sense. Appreciate it. Shout out to John Mendoza, always with the dollars. Appreciate it, John. Thank you, Mike Rawson. I appreciate that you think I do amazing work. Again, so many people in this world that pretend to be part of the truth community are like, oh yeah, the numbers thing. They say it like that. Oh yeah, the numbers thing. Like, you can make any numbers connect. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. Aleister Crowley, he worshipped 93. Sandra Day O'Connor dead at 93 on his death anniversary. I'm sure we're just making it connect. We're just looking for the connection. Oh, her name's the exact same in Gematria, which he wrote about as Aleister Crowley. I'm sure it's all just a coincidence. Oh, man, people. Shout out to 13 Serpents, always with the big donations. I appreciate it. Thank you, Laura, with the $3. Big time. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Shout out to Itachi. Even though, I got to be honest, Itachi hangs around because he's a smart guy and he does good work in sports. But Itachi, like seriously, the songs you play on your live streams, why are you playing that music? Like, just that stuff alone makes me think you're a shill. I got to be honest. Why are you playing that trash shit music from this Zionist cabal, this total, I mean, like your generation, that's the programming. Like if you guys are from my generation, you wouldn't even be able to listen to that music because it literally sounds like dog shit. And it's not just because I'm older and you guys have been trained to listen to the most shit music there ever was. I mean, that music just has nothing to it. The beat sucks. There's no word content, mumble rapping. It's just complete trash. I'm like, what's the point of playing that on your streams when we're trying to expose the cabal? And stop ripping on people for going to the sports games when you go to them too. So I do appreciate the donation, but you're going to be mad suspect to me as long as you continue to be the walking hypocrite that you are. But Itachi is very good with the sports. He's excelled there. And then that's everything he does. He says, people come to this community and all they care about sports. It's like, all you ever talk about is sports. That's why, and again, you did admit that you have some connections to some high people in Washington, D.C., which is also interesting. But, yeah, even though that is who Itachi is, he still brings something very relevant to the community, and he's done some amazing things in sports decoding, so I'll continue to support him for that reason. But all the other stuff, in my opinion, man, it needs to stop. Not that I want to control you, but seriously, like, go listen to some songs from before the 2000s and hear some real music. I don't know why you got to play those shit-ass songs in almost every stream. They really do disgust me, if you can't tell. But, yeah, again, it can be that simple. DeRozan, born 8-7, became 87 and 87 versus Milwaukee Bucks, which equals 87. And you know who else upset last night in a huge way on 35 Thursday in a 35 ritual? Was Jordan's Charlotte Hornets versus Jordan's hometown Brooklyn. So that was a nice big payout. Thank you, Aaron Meyer. I appreciate that. And just to remind you guys, I do appreciate Super Chats, but there really are a lot better ways to support the work than through Super Chats. And the reason why is because Google takes 30% of every Super Chat. So, for example, Aaron Meyer's $20 donation, $6 of that will go to Google. And we know Google's the Jesuit evil empire. That's why they celebrate their birthday on the anniversary of Jesuits being recognized by Rome. But at the same time, I know some of you guys are just more comfortable donating on this platform, so thank you. But to remind people, in the links, there are other places to donate. PayPal doesn't take out anything unless you mark it as a business transaction. And even then, they hardly take out anything. The other things there, CashApp doesn't take anything. So just want to remind that too about super chats through Google. Like, somebody gave a really huge super chat months ago. And I think when they did that, it made it so like nobody else is like, don't. It's like there hasn't really been much super chat since then. But you might recall somebody gave me a $500 super chat. $150 of that went to Google. So would have sent that in a Cash App. You know, it would have all made it here. And then we're not supporting, you know, evil Google. But a dollar here and there. You know, I guess 30% is still going to Google. But yeah, in the description of every video are the places to support, where you can support without also giving your money to Google. And thank you to Jameson Jones, who says this knowledge can save your life. And again, he hasn't called in. I was hoping he was going to call in and share the story publicly, but I did get a call about here. I'm going to tell this story. This knowledge can save your life. There is something greater to numbers than just the ritualism that these people do every day. Again, from understanding the ritualism, it can keep you from participating in their agendas, whether that's becoming a guinea pig for Pfizer or sending your child off to the latest needless war that's based on a whole bunch of lies. And that's all of them in your history books. Every war you know about's been based on lies. The Revolutionary War, that's total bullshit in the history books. It didn't start on Ignatius of Loyola's anniversary, becoming the first superior general by accident, April 19th, and the outcome of the war is clearly a lie. You guys, if America had won the Revolutionary War, we wouldn't speak English. We would speak German, because the majority of Americans back then spoke German. The reason we speak English is because Britain won the war. The U.S. did not win the Revolutionary War. We never got free from Britain. It's all part of the lies. Everyone's believing the lies and not seeing the obvious. The reason we speak English is because Britain won the war. And think about it. It's secret societies from that same place that are all the founders. You know, the war was meaningless. The war was ritualism for a story to create the illusion that we defeated the Redcoats and got free. Never did. Never happened. The sun never sets on Britain. Britain is obviously Britain. It's the United States. It's colonies all over the world. It's Israel. And it's all done in this occult fashion, which Aleister Crowley's also a part of Britain. And for any historian to be like, oh, that's bullshit. No, your mind is bullshit. You're wrong. America did not win the war. We did not get free. Free, which equals 74. Like 7-4, like holiday, like London, like English, like gematria, like occult. Like how that number's all over everything. That's why 3 of the first 5 founders are dead on 7-4. Roman equals 74, and that's really what Britain is. Britain is the Holy Roman Empire, as is the Vatican, as is the United States of America and Israel. Nobody got free. The Holy Roman Empire has continued to move through history. That's why this nation's capital is all Roman architecture. That's why over in Britain at 10 Downing Street, stained in the glass above the door for the Prime Minister, is the top half of the Jesuit Order's logo. That's why the Jesuits settled in Washington, D.C., where the capital was eventually moved to. I don't know how people can't figure it out that all history is just fake. I mean, it should be so obvious if you're an adult growing up at this age. What are the kids learning in slave school right now? That a man in a cave took down the towers on 9/11, which started 20 years of war, and then senile Biden just decided to end it all on the Jesuit Order's birthday, which caused 13 soldiers to die in the land of the 13 stripes. I mean, you got to be a moron to look at these stories and think these are accurate stories. Ongoing bullshit for narrative to just keep you marching along to whatever they told you to by the same old numbers. Oh, I was going to make the point also. So, gentleman, he might eventually call in. I'm going to keep it anonymous. But he called up to let me know that this knowledge and what I'd taught about also the organic side saved his life. And I did share this story a few months back when he called me. Going to share it one more time. Because there is something greater to numbers. It's not just the ritualism. Again, the trolls in the community who do terrible decodes and are always trying to undermine my work and like one of them is always like, I learned from Zach and he totally did not teach about the organic side, which it's just like, dude, can you shut up? You came here in 2016, more than 2 years after I began teaching about the organic side. You're such a fraud. And not to mention, I've written 2 books, and they both conclude with the organic side. But, and that guy keeps repeating that line over and over, and it's 2023. It's like, okay, we were teaching the organic side 2 years before you got here. Both of my books teach about it. How can you keep lying about this? And then morons are calling in my show on TFR and being like, why don't you work with that guy? It's like, okay, you must be some kind of troll agent too, calls in every 3 months with these bullshit questions that you must know the answers to. But anyway, a gentleman recently had this happen in his life. He separated from his baby mama. They never got married, but they have a child. And his baby mama lives with her mom, and her mom is an alcoholic, and his daughter had just turned 4, sadly, when this happened. But the daughter's living with the mom and the grandmother has bottles of alcohol all over the place, and the child decided to sip some of the hard alcohol, and grandma caught her. So grandma made the 4-year-old finish the whole bottle. And you know what happened to the 4-year-old? They died. Now, the father only lived blocks away, and when he found out what happened, he started marching over to the house, and he had plans to kill the mom and the grandmother. This is what was going through his head. He was so mad. But as soon as he went marching out his door on his way over there to kill, a car drove by, and he couldn't believe it. As the car drove by, he saw the first 3 numbers in the license plate, and it was his daughter's birthday, the month and the day. And it just immediately made him stop what he was doing and think about it. And he thought that was a sign from Creator, that somehow his daughter was communicating to him that that was not the right move. That's the way he interpreted that. But he said, Zach, had I not learned about numbers and organic side and just like how you talk about the weird things that happen with numbers and sometimes they're a sign to make us think about things, he said, I would have just kept marching, and they'd probably be dead, and I'd probably be in prison right now. And I mean, that's not a very nice story. But again, there is a reason that all these beliefs came about from numbers. Again, Kabbalah says God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. Genesis, God speaks the world into existence over numbered days. And, while you got this moron shill in the community who's constantly regurgitating the lie that I've never taught about the organic side when I've been teaching about since 2014 and the things that happened to me back then, a year after I learned about this knowledge, I just started to see all these really inexplicable organic things happen that I wouldn't have been aware of if I wasn't aware of the knowledge. I was just like, that is too weird. That is too weird. And again, I mean, there's been a lot of good stories in the community. That's not exactly a good story. The man lost his daughter, but it kept him from going and killing 2 other people and potentially ruining the rest of his life. And maybe he won't ever call in and share that story publicly because it is very personal and sounds a little bit wild. But again, that's what happened in his life. And knowledge is power. So knowledge of the occult is important because we're being ruled over by the occult. But yes, thank you, Jameson Jones. And shout out to MM with the 5 Canadian, trying to learn to do these calculations in my head. Any tips? You know what? Yes. And the tip is very simple. It's do it in your head. And what I had to do in the early days is the last letter, for whatever reason that I could remember in my head what number it corresponded with, just using the alphabetic order, was Q. I was always forgetting what Q was. I could not remember that Q was the 17th letter. But that's the way I would always do it in my head. I would just like go through the letters and make sure, and not in order, but I'd just try to remember. I'd be like, okay, S, what letter is that? Okay, that's the 19th letter. V, 22nd. T, 20. X, 24. K, the 11th. M, 13. N, 4. I was just constantly like quizzing myself in my head. And then once you know the alphabetic order of each letter, you can do all 4 base ciphers in your head just through understanding and calculation. To remember what any letter is in reverse, you just take 27 minus the alphabetic order of placement. So for example, Q is the 17th letter, right? So Q in reverse is 10 because 27 minus 17 is 10. So once you know every letter forwards, A is 1 up to Z is 26, then you can remember what the letter is in all 4 of the ciphers. Reverse alphabetic order, and then numerology, I can imagine you can do the math. 17 would be 1 plus 7 is 8. And then the way I would practice adding up words in my head, which was very difficult when I first started, and it can still be challenging, especially in the other ciphers, but you can get it down with the alphabetic order. When I'd be driving on the interstate, I started to realize how many, like, it'll say like 74 miles to Oregon, 82 miles to Seattle. Oregon equals 74. Seattle equals 82. I started to notice this, so as I drove past road signs, I constantly wanted to calculate. And, you're driving on the road, and back then I didn't even have a gematria calculator. So I would practice driving and calculating in my head. That's how I did it. I mean, there's other ways to do it, but that's how I started. And being able to calculate in your head can be very important because you can catch things that they're putting right in front of your face all the time on the TV. And of course, now we have the Gematria Calculator app, which is free to download. Again, go to my website, GematriaEffect.News. Go to the calculator section. You can download the calculator, which works offline for free, and you can quickly do things. But that might be hard to do while you're driving down the road. Shouldn't be playing on your cell phone while you're driving. But yeah, learn the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26, and what each letter is, and then you should be able to do the rest in your head from there. So, another flow says, there was a misunderstanding with the home situation. Everything is groovy now. Keep on trucking, man. Okay, I appreciate that. But, sorry, I have so many things to keep track. I can't remember what the home situation was. So, I forgot, but I do appreciate the donation. And I'm glad everything's all good. And then Zach Goodwin says, I got on TV last night, NHL game wearing 74 Gematria sweater. A player hit the puck at the announcer in front of me, so the presentation focused on him and me for a minute. Thanks for the work. Funny. Well, glad you're okay and you didn't take a puck to the teeth. Back in the old tough days, hockey guys didn't even wear helmets. Missing teeth was a sign of the courage on the ice. Not in this day and age. The age of the mangina. But, okay, yes. And I was saying, you're homeless. You should not be donating to me. Hey, okay, okay, yes, that's right. The homeless situation. Hey, since you're on the cusp of being homeless and you just got into a better situation, I do want people to support the work, but I want you to not donate to me until you got plenty of money in your rainy day account. I know things got to be tight for you right now. That's the thing about this world too, you guys. The poorest people are the most generous people. And usually, more often than not, the richest people are the stingiest. And again, I got to learn this as a child from my mom, who ended up cleaning for some of the wealthiest people in Portland, Oregon, some of the very richest people in the whole city. And the reason she was cleaning for them is because she's like literally the greatest cleaner probably in Portland, Oregon. She doesn't miss anything. OCD to the greatest detail, scrubs the hell out of everything, makes everything shine. Anyone who's ever had my mom clean their house knows how good she is at cleaning house. And it becomes annoying when she's your mom because that's all she does. She doesn't do anything for fun. She just wants to clean the house all the time. But she did clean for the richest people, and she saw how they just do not give you anything at all, nickel and dime. And then, like, her poorest customers are, like, trying to give her $100 extra for Christmas when they are barely keeping afloat. And she's like, no, you don't need to give me $100. And then it's like these rich people, they're wiping their ass with $100 bills, but they would never think about giving it to their cleaner. And I mean, that's evil, right? It's just like, that's why we're ruled over by evil people, because they were so committed to themselves and wealth and power. It's all they cared about. And that is who's ruling over us. Wealthy, selfish people who don't care about other people, who use other people, and here we are to show for it. So, but yeah, seriously, I do appreciate both your donations. And you know what else? Just scummy people in this world, too. Here's a real story from this community, and I'm just so annoyed with myself. There's a person in this world who, in the last couple of years, I've probably given over $1,000 to because they kept asking for money, and they were good at tricking me. They'd write these really long letters about how much they need this right now and how big of a supporter they are, and they'd say how much they'd given me in the past. And I never looked into what they'd given me. I was just taking it that it was true because the letter seemed sincere, and it was always some story about how bad this was and what they needed right now. And they'd ask for big chunks of money at a time, $200, $100, $50. And I just kept giving it to them, thinking that they were some real sincere person in the community who had donated in the past. So anyway, it was about 2 months ago now. They requested a small amount of money. They requested $5. And keep in mind, they're in Canada. So every time I send them money, there's fees. And so anyway, they requested $5 and wrote a long letter about how bad they needed that $5 right now. And I was like, they never requested such a small amount of money. So I was like, okay, $5. Okay, so I just sent the $5. And then with the fee to Canada, it's like another $2.50. So it's like, seems kind of wasteful to send $5. But then as soon as I sent it, they wrote another long mail and they said they needed $5 more. And I was like, okay, why are they making requests for such small increments right now when there's these fees to send to Canada each time? So then I was like, okay, but whatever. So I sent the $5, and then they sent another request for $2. They said they needed actually $2 more. So I was like, okay, what the hell? 3 separate transactions for $12. Normally they ask for bigger amounts, and so I for the first time ever, I went on my Patreon to see what they had donated, to look up their name. They're one of these people that unsubscribes at the end of the month and gets free content. Since 2018, it showed that they had donated $1 to me. $1 total dollar they donated, and they kept writing all these emails asking for all this money. I don't even know how much money I've sent them over the years, because just every time I was like, okay, I can afford to do it. There's a lot of people in this community who I've sent $50 to and $100 to because they needed something, sometimes multiple times. This person is one of the people I've donated to the most, and they were just some scammer. Just some scammer. And then the other day, they just sent a request for $500. I'm not ever sending them another dollar. But these people are pieces of shit. There are just so many pieces of shit in this world. I mean, that person's a fucking loser. You're sitting here harassing me, lying to me, taking advantage of me. For what? Because you're a fucking loser. And again, there's so many trolls. It's just like there's a guy, Bobby, who'd come out to Spokane, and then he gave me this big sob story about how his child was dying. I ended up donating over $1,000 to him the other winter. And then after I donated the money, he totally flipped on me. Started trolling me online and spamming all this bullshit. And I was like, how weird is this? He hangs around for it's just... Again, you guys, there's just so many scummy people in the world, and all of you who've ever been persuaded by anyone who told you that I was a bad person, I guarantee you're just getting persuaded by the satanic cabal that hangs around here because they don't like that I'm exposing them. But thank you to all the people who've actually supported the work and not tried to exploit me. I do appreciate it. And that story I just told you, part of it is my fault. I should have looked into long ago how much they donated, because they'd always write how much they've donated in the past and how much they needed money right now. And here, they'd really never donated anything. They donated $1. And I could have saw that from the beginning had I taken the time to look it up. So, anyway. That's the problem if you don't look into things, right? In this world, you got to look into things. You got to look into things, because there are just liars all abound. Okay, I'm just scanning over the other headlines real quick. I think we covered all the big stories so far. We'll see if we get anything later today. And oh, by the way, just to make one more point about just everything being scripted. Again, yesterday, the big upset, Hornets beating the Nets as a 13-point underdog, getting to 3-5 away. They're going to play Chicago next, Jordan's other team, on the road. Their next road game, Chicago. Chicago equals 35. But again, notice how in this game where Jordan's Hornets, who he had to give up, beat Jordan's hometown, Brooklyn, look at the score, right? 129. What is 129? It's 201 in base 8 counting. What's the 201 team in the league? The Charlotte Hornets. So, again, not an accident. Not an accident. The Blazers in the upset getting to 4-7 in the most 47 state there is, Ohio. Yeah, so a lot of little rituals. The Bulls, Jordan's team upsets on November 30th, getting to 5-6 at home versus the Bucks. We thought that was a good upset possibility yesterday with big value as well. Bucks 56. And again, Jordan's team on 11/30. Michael Jordan 113, right? Kobe Bryant, 113 and 41. Kobe dead at 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age while traveling from Catholic Mass. Yesterday, the anniversary of number 41. Yesterday, 41 weeks into Jordan's age. Again, they're doing a lot of interesting things with the NBA schedule this year. And not just the NBA schedule, just sports in general in relation to Jordan, who's 60, when that number has a lot to do with Kobe's death and a number of other NBA greats. So we're going to continue to watch Jordan through age 60. But I think Jordan, he might escape age 60. Age 62 isn't that far away either. But again, these people who are made to be the greats that they are, inflated on the world stage, which includes Michael Jordan. There's no way Michael Jordan would ever go down as the greatest of all time if the NBA wasn't completely scripted theater, because he's not. And Scottie Pippen was better than Jordan, period. End of discussion. It's not even really a debate. Again, the NBA's fixed. If Jordan and Pippen had to play each other for real one-on-one, Pippen would kill him all day. He's longer. He's more athletic. He can jump higher. He can defend way better. He can rebound better. Again, everything everyone believes in is total bullshit because you've just been watching this contrived Zionist world order Jesuit Illuminati stage for all of your life. And you got to love the Thunder winning with 133 in Oklahoma City. It's another big city of theirs where they did the major tribute to Ignatius of Loyola blowing up the Oklahoma City building in the 201 ritual. All synced up with Biden and Keating and Clinton at the time. Yeah, looks like it was a pretty good day in the NBA yesterday. Anyways, for all you guys waiting for the NBA information for today, I'll work on it as soon as this stream, just starting off a little bit earlier with the news because it's another big December 1st headlines. Oh yeah, the red state versus blue state debate last night on Fox News with Jesuit Gavin Newsom and the Yale product DeSantis. But on the 113 day, just politics and just more total bullshit. Red states and blue states. That's nothing but Masonic ritualism to keep people believing in these political parties that at the end of the day serve one and the same master. And yeah, again, it was just funny like watching them. I saw part of it attacking each other over Disney. You locked down Disney and cost a lot of their jobs. Oh yeah? Well, you're censoring Disney and trying to control them and make it a 1960s America. Just let them be down with the LGBTQ. It's just like, look at this shit, man. These things that they keep people debating over. All of these contrived crap that shouldn't even exist in their world. We're debating over the contrived crap they shove down our throats. Cooties pandemic. That's contrived crap. LGBTQ. This wouldn't even be a thing if Jesuit priests weren't raping so many children in the ass, creating this genre of homosexuals that are so prominent in the most Jesuit cities in America, San Francisco, where Newsom comes from, and Seattle. Again, it's like the things they do create more bullshit in the world, which becomes the focus of everyone. This stuff wouldn't even be happening on if we weren't polluted by the filth of these religions and these frauds and these authorities. People just can't come to accept it that their religion's a fraud, that their government's a fraud, that their news is a fraud when it's all so obvious. But yeah, the red state versus blue state debate, what a joke. What a joke. And we'll see, Gavin Newsom at age 56, if we have any surprises there with Joe Biden, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Michelle? Is it going to be Gavin? We know it's not going to be Kamala. It's not going to be Kamala. She might go down as the 47th president if Biden doesn't finish, but she's not going to be the one. The thing about money not being real, it is and it isn't, right? I mean, it is and it isn't. Because if you don't have any money in this society where everything you have to pay for, so that's the reality of it, that it exists and that it's still accepted as a thing of value that can buy goods, food, property, medicine, whatever it is you need. Food. Again, money's real in that sense. But our money system is obviously a load of bullshit. And remember when they came off the gold standard? Oh, they did that on the Jesuit order's birthday, didn't they? Gold, the sun cult, big rituals. And my favorite ritual recently with the money was the first auditing of Fort Knox by the Skull and Bones member, Steve Mnuchin. You guys remember what day he did it? What day did Steve Mnuchin audit the Federal Reserve system or Fort Knox where the gold supposedly is for the first time in forever? Do you guys remember what day he did it? It was the most symbolic and obvious day. We covered it that day. The mockery. They did it on the day of the Great American Solar Eclipse, the first of its kind in 99 years, like the United States of America's 99, like it was named that on 99, like the Illuminati was founded on 99 date numerology. But again, why do it on the day of the Great American Solar Eclipse? Makes perfect sense if you understand that the sun in alchemy is gold. So the day that the sun wasn't there, the day of the great total eclipse, the day that you could not see the sun, they audit the gold that's not there, that hasn't been there. Mockery. And so, yeah, again, we do have a currency that really has nothing behind it, but people still believe in it and give it value, so it continues to have worth. So, but yeah, indeed, I totally hear the point you're making and where you're coming from. So, shout out to MM who says in the future, Cash App. I appreciate the 2 Canadian. Open up. Says Jordan's 2025 birthday. That will be when he turns 62. Has the kill date numerology. Interesting. Way to look ahead, Open Up. Appreciate that. And Amy was just, again, I used to do that. So when I first started the research, I didn't have nearly as much knowledge about all this, right? So I just looked at every obvious number connection that there was. So whenever I was talking about somebody's death, I'd always show how their birth numerology for that year or their birthday numerology seemed to factor into the death. And then I got away from doing that, not because it wasn't true, but just because I learned so much more, and now I usually have seemingly more, and at least in my opinion, more interesting connections to bring to it. But yeah, probably should have never stopped looking at the birth numerology and the year of these people's deaths. And that is interesting. So Jordan's birthday in 2025, which is the year and they live, where the New World Order is supposed to have full control. It's February 17th. So, yeah, you're right. That's the date with the 4464 numerology. That is the kill date. Shout out to Bry Guy, also with the 2. Shout out to John Mendoza, who found another $2. He says he stopped going with the flow a long time ago. Indeed. Even a dead fish can go with the flow. Jim Hightower said that, not me, but that I was a teenager when I heard that quote. I said, that makes so much sense. Even a dead fish can go with the flow. Look at all these dead fish in America just going with what they're told. And thank you to Steve Blur with the super sticker. I always get confused what a super sticker means, but I appreciate the donation, so. Here, somebody else agrees with the trash rap. Again, Itachi, if you're going to play hip-hop music in your streams, play a decent song. Here, I'll tell you guys something funny about me back when I was dumb. Here's how I realized, when I was an 8th grader, I did not read enough, right? So, like, I still hadn't figured out how to spell the different variations of there, and I'd forget which to use. Like, is it the T-O-O? Is it the T-W-O? Is it the T-O? I wasn't to the part of my life where I was reading enough, so my spelling and grammar wasn't as great. I could actually read. Actually, my English teacher back then thought I was a great writer, but I wasn't, because I didn't know how to spell words that I should know how to spell. But here, I'll tell you something funny that happened to me in 8th grade, and it just came back into my mind. And in 8th grade is when I got my first America Online account, right? And what I made my account name was Too Short Z. And my sister and her boyfriend always liked Too Short, so I listened to a lot of Too Short growing up. My sister's 12 years older than me. But I didn't even knowing who he was, I didn't know how to spell his name right. So I spelled it T-W-O, right? Two, I had the 2 right, or the wrong 2. I had short, and I had Z. And I remember this Asian kid who went off and he very smart guy. His name was David Ho. Wherever David Ho is, shout out to you. But when he got on AOL and he saw my name, he was like, "What's with your name? Like, what do you own? 2 pairs of shorts?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm, Too Short the rapper. Like, I like him, so I made my name Too Short Z." Okay, the reason I'm bringing this up is I turned on my car. If you guys have Sirius XM, Too Short actually has a show on Sirius XM. I think it's on channel 43 on the weekends. And it actually started, like, the first episode when I was driving from Seattle to New York last year. And what I've learned is I'm like, oh, I actually like Too Short, the non-rapper guy. Too Short. What I was gonna say about Too Short is he has the song "Getting It." It's different than any other song he did. Most of Too Short songs, if you don't know, are all about getting the girls. But he has a song called "Getting It," which is actually about getting an education and doing something for your life and not being a loser and not making excuses. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is just the other day, I was getting in my car on the weekend, and I don't know if it was the live broadcast of the show or the rerun, but it was what was on the radio when I turned it on, and it was Too Short, and I liked what he said. I liked what he said a lot. He said, a problem in this world is there's so many people talking about the problems, but nobody really is bringing solutions. He's like, I want to listen to solutions. And then from there, and people will criticize me of that. They're saying, Zach, you're always pointing out the problems, you don't have solutions. Bullshit. I always talk about the solutions. I always talk about the solutions. That's why I'm funding solutions. I'm trying to help people organize and network. Again, there's a plan of action that I've always put out. Things will not change until enough people are awake and speaking out and making a presence and waking up their fellow man. That is the action and solution right now. Where does it lead to? That remains to be seen. But first, people have to act against the cabal that is ruling over us all. But anyway, Too Short then went on. What I liked about when I turned on is he's like, something I regret about my career, and this factors into what Itachi's talking about. He says, something I regret about my music career is I didn't make enough music with a positive message. And he knows, anybody who knows what his music's about, it's all about hooking up with girls. I mean, that's like, Too Short has 1 million songs on how good he is with the ladies. And he raps about how before he was a famous rapper, how he couldn't really get any ladies. But then, once the money comes, then so do the ladies come. He has a whole collection of records on this topic. But he has a few other songs like Getting It. If you've never heard Too Short's song, Getting It, take a moment to listen to that song. It's a great song. It's an inspirational song. It's got the right message. Anyway, he went into how he doesn't have enough songs like that. And he says because so many people like me who helped build this hip-hop genre, he said because we didn't rap about the right things, he said, look at rap music now. He said, now it's just like, it's gone. It's empty. It has nothing. It's soulless. There's nothing worthwhile in it. And he said, that's my fault. And that's everybody else's fault because we didn't put enough jewels in our music to pass down to the generation. And now things are just getting worse with time. So anytime I listen to your station, Itachi, you're always playing this total shit music that's just absolute fucking garbage. And I'm like, how can you play this? Like, why do you even want to listen to this? Not only is it just bankrupt, it sounds like dog shit. But anyway, Too Short was just spelling it all out, and I was like, man, I wonder how many other rappers feel the same way. And then in a way, it made me feel like, oh, maybe it was good that I had Too Short Z misspelled as my first online screen name. And by the way, when I was younger, I didn't get my growth spurt until probably about 9th grade. So I was shorter when I was 8th grade when I had that screen name. And I was always the youngest person in class, too. So everybody's like 9 months older than me and taller. But it didn't matter. I was younger and shorter, but I still compete with them. I still smoke them on the basketball court. I didn't mind being Too Short Z. And so, anyway, I just had to share that story from and it reminds me that, like when I make fun of people, I'm like, hey, I used to have the same problems in 8th grade. I couldn't even spell right. I didn't know what there to use. So it wasn't all that long ago. But yeah, don't end up being too short. Don't end up looking back at your legacy and going, man, because I didn't do the right things back then, look at the world now. It's even worse. I just enjoyed listening to him talk about that so plainly. I was like, how nice, how refreshing. He realizes every record shouldn't have just been about hooking up with girls. He should have had more getting it's. So. You know why else I cook Itachi? Because I know Itachi's not some beta male. I know he's not so sensitive. Like, if I did this to other people, they'd go cry, and then they'd be in the troll camp. I know Itachi's not going to do that. So even though there's things about him that I really don't like, I recognize that he's actually a man, and he can handle something, and he can come back with his rebuttal and say whatever, but, yeah, I just, like, seriously, man, I wish you would find better music. If you do a live stream today, maybe start with the song Getting It, I guarantee it's 1,000,000 times better than anything you've ever played on your streams. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave it there, you guys. And, yeah, I'll probably be back today because it's 12/1. This day is always full of high ritual. Oh, they got Jussie Smollett. Remember that ritual by the numbers? See, that's the thing. Do you remember how obsessed everyone was with the Jussie Smollett story. And now people think the story is that he made it up. No, the whole story is that his handlers, the same ones that put him on... See, Jussie Smollett ended up on Sirius XM on the radio with songs playing while all this stuff was going on. This is what it is when you contribute with the cabal and you just do their bidding and you go and create this propaganda for more division, and then another story comes out about how you're a liar and you made it all up, but you just followed the whole story. It was just all one ritual after the next. And of course it was made up from the beginning, but so is everything that's in the news for the most part. Donald Trump, before he came around, we were explaining how fake the news is and how it's just one ritual, one divisive propaganda story after the next. Donald Trump's very much a part of that. And again, I guess that's the one nice thing that you can say about Trump is that he did help bring more awareness to fake news, but that's all by design too. It's just like how they said he was carrying around Mein Kampf, and shout out to Neo the Hacker who just brought something new to the community, which is true. I didn't realize all these years that Mein Kampf was really written by a Jesuit priest more so than Hitler, which makes so much sense. But remember, they were saying Trump was carrying around Mein Kampf, Jesuit-educated Trump, when he first became president. Hitler and Trump, they both said a lot of things that are true, but I think they'll both go down in the history books as villains. And that's part of the design, to have them say true things, but these true things be associated with villains so people don't take those things seriously, like the news being fake. And, yeah. Anyway. I'll come back today when it's time to come back, because I suspect there will be more stories. And if there's not, then maybe I won't. Again, if you got here late, feel free to rewind the video. Thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Don't be surprised if I'm not posting because I got another strike and suspension. In a way, I'm almost a little bit shocked that I'm not getting... I mean, I'm getting strikes and suspensions and deletions left and right. I just lost another video the other day. But, again, if you don't see me posting... Again, I do work every day. If you don't see me posting, it means I'm suspended. You got to go find me. Go to my website, GematriaEffect.News. And... if I have a new YouTube channel by then, I'll be linking it there for people to find it. So, speaking of which, hold on, I went to the wrong thing. What's my website? GematriaEffect.News. Let's see. Like right now, it has the YouTube channel linked, and actually, it had the 4 most recent ones linked, but if you go to Gematria Effect News 23, this channel no longer exists because it was recently deleted. If you go to Gematria Effect News 24, this channel no longer exists because it was recently deleted. Gematria Effect News 22 just needs one more strike, and it'll be deleted. I think I have like till February something. If I get a strike before February, this channel will be all the way gone, so it'll probably be gone before February. And Gematria Effect News 25 has 1 strike on it, so if it gets struck, it'll be suspended for 2 weeks, and then it gets another strike, it's deleted. In a way, I could say Google did me a favor. They just struck a video on here on Gematria Effect News 22, and it could have been the 3rd strike, and they could have deleted the channel, but all they did was took down the video rather than deleting the channel. And they deleted a episode of TFR that was 107 weeks old on Wednesday, the day I do TFR. It felt like another ritual, Zachary's 107, deleting a TFR episode exactly after it's 107 weeks old. But, yeah, again, if they do strike a video like that, but also imply the strike, this channel's gone. So, we'll be down to 1 news channel and 1 sports channel. And it wasn't that long ago that all 4 of these channels were in existence. So, if you guys don't use my website, that is a place to get to the remaining channels. The only ones still alive are 22 and 25, which is what you're watching right now. But, yeah, I might have to add a Gematria Effect News 26 there before long, so. Okie dokie. Thank you, Amawan. I appreciate that. Very generous. So, again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share, who shares the work offline, online, helps put it out themselves. And Amawan says, Zach, do you agree Kawhi is a much better player than LeBron? Oh, absolutely. In terms of just basketball fundamentals, skill level, absolutely. He doesn't have as dominant of a physical body as LeBron, but in terms of a basketball player, not even close. I mean, you take away the magnetic rims. Again, I can't stand that people can't see that they use technology to rig the outcomes. How do you think the Harlem Globetrotters, which are run by you-know-who's, just like the NBA is, the Adelson thing is a major revelation, but how do you think the Harlem Globetrotters never, I mean, it's a true stat, they never miss from beyond half court? How do you think that's possible? Do you think anyone's that good at basketball that they can never miss from beyond half court? That's a really long shot. That's impossible without technology. And LeBron, he couldn't shoot for shit in high school, but then he went to the NBA with an even deeper three-pointer, and he just couldn't miss. He was just like an automatic, on-the-money three-point shooter as soon as he got to the league. No. Kawhi's got a nice shot, man. Kawhi's shot looks nice. I bet Kawhi could drain all day even without the metal, the technology they're using. But, yeah, Kawhi's got way better basketball skills than LeBron. It's not even debatable. So LeBron's just the chosen one. That's why it's on his back. King James winning the championship for the Cavs on the real King James's birthday. June 19th, when, again, King James's son was King Charles, and King Charles, those who fought for him were called Cavaliers. History, on the field, off the field, always tributes to history in the news. I mean, today, it's tributes to history. It's tributes to Aleister Crowley today, and the news isn't going to talk about it, not even for 1 second. They're not going to bring up that Aleister Crowley, Mr. 93, died on this day in history. So, Wilt Chamberlain started out as a globetrotter. Yeah, he's not the only one. Yeah, Deflategate was a total hoax. We covered that back then. Just all made up ritual, all by the numbers to try to make it seem like there's some legitimacy to the NFL and Tom Brady. Nope. Remember what happened to Kawhi's father? Kawhi's father got sacrificed. He got killed, shot to death at the car wash. And then remember what happened to Kawhi's sister last year while he was sitting out as the Clippers get knocked out of the playoffs, and Kawhi doesn't even play. Then his sister's going to prison. Same type of stuff, man. You want to be on the stage, you're going to sacrifice people around you. So all right, we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. Thanks again to everyone who supports the work. Again, I feel bad about this. I gotta confess one more thing, and I've confessed it before, but I hate the dilemma that I'm in right now because I feel like I'm not. It's really hard for me to do everything that I feel like I need to be doing for this work right now, which to me is getting out and pounding pavement and going to cities on anniversaries. It's really hard for me right now because I have my other half, sweet lady, who's watched the support fall way down since we began pounding pavement really hard all across the nation, which we've done. And she says, Zach, look, it's dangerous. When you're in Oklahoma City, they're ready for you. They're not letting you on the grounds. They got people coming out, keying your car. Your support's falling off. It's bringing more drama. It's bringing more people against you. Less resources. Now your work's getting less views. What's the point of doing it? She's sitting over here making that argument, and all that's factual, right? Based on the facts, it's like, God, how do I win this case? But I know what she doesn't know. I know what it feels like to be out, uniting with the truth seekers, engaging with the populace, getting people to stop and go, whoa, thank you. This is crazy. I got to look more into this. Where can I learn more about this? When I'm out there doing that, I see like this is what it's going to take on a way bigger level with way more people doing it for the world to change. Right now, I feel like it's hard for me to get out there and do that because I got sweet lady who's And again, the other unfortunate thing that happened recently is that somehow sweet lady calls me Mr. Big Mouth. She says I shouldn't have shared when we moved and all the stuff that I did because it allowed them to track down where we were. Again, I try to be... I always just try to share information and be open and share stories in my own life. But yeah, they're all things good and bad. Anyway, the trolls did figure out where Sweet Lady works. Now she feels even less safe. Now she's made the point that if you go somewhere and I'm home alone, how do you know they're not going to come harass me or at my workplace? And I don't know for sure that's not going to happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's like what I say back to her, I say, well, look, all the things that have happened to us, they haven't been to our physical persons, and most of the stuff that's happened to us, like they've damaged our property and destroyed our property when we weren't there. It's like they attack when we're not there, like almost like a cowardly way. So I said, I don't feel like we're in danger, but again, If February 8th rolls around, the day that I should be in LA at the unveiling of the Kobe statue, and then should be jetting over from there to the Super Bowl to educate about all the deaths this year for what's going on in the big Super Bowl, these are things that I feel like I really need to be do, and if I'm not there, I'm going to have a lot of regret. I know that's exactly how it'll be, but it's just like, here, this is the way I also see it, but it's easier to see it than actually do what needs to be done. I feel like I have a really good relationship with Sweet Lady. Again, the only thing I could ask for more is for her to be more on board with what I'm trying to do, but I also understand where she comes from of like, we live in a big world where people just don't give a shit, and you've already done your part. Anyway, I feel like our relationship is important, and I want to keep our relationship together. But I feel like what's more important in the larger scope of things than our relationship is the work that I'm doing, which is for the world and changing the world and stopping what's going on, at least as much as it can be stopped. And so in a way, like when I compromise doing that to preserve our relationship, I feel like in a way it's like, am I making the wrong choice? If anybody ever wants to emulate what I'm doing and take it to a higher level, you might just have to remain as a single person. Otherwise, or find a woman who's totally on board. Or be a woman who finds a man who's totally on board. I'm speaking from a male point of view, but yeah, it's just, I'm in a really difficult situation. And again, the other reality is like, I'm not going to leave Sweet Lady, you guys. That's not going to happen. But even if I did leave Sweet Lady to pursue what I fully need to do, I still feel like, would that then generate the support that should be behind the work that isn't there right now? Probably not. And then I might feel even more jaded. I might be like, okay, I sabotaged probably the best thing going in my life to further the cause, but there's still no support there. So now I have Sweet Lady in the back of my head talking about how, Zach, didn't you see that there just weren't enough people in the world who were really down for the cause? Again, if you're out there and you're sitting there with your hands in your pocket and you've never helped out with anything, and you've watched like me do countless things and be out there all day in the freezing ass cold on March 13, 2020, educating about Event 201 from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, giving away thousands of dollars of my own wealth to get a crowd of people out there to hopefully create a spark. Again, if you guys have just been spectating the whole time and never put in anything yourself, I mean, how much does it cost for me to just even drive from where I am to Seattle back and forth? You know, that's $50 in gas at least. Thousands of dollars in merchandise. My whole day of not getting paid, but just giving up my own resources. What was it for the first 5 years to teach this every day and never charge $1 for anything, lose my own business because of what happened on November 15, 2014, have cars crash through my house and have to pay $10,000 in my own pocket because my insurance won't cover it all? And again, I never asked for any money back then. That was just a $10,000 expense that had to come out of my pocket to fix my own house from doing this work, from surviving through the threats. But again, for all you guys who just sat there the whole time and just spectated and never put anything in, and then sit there and judge and criticize and say, well, see, you still haven't done enough either, Zach. What have you done to help me? What would it be if 1 million people heard it years ago when I said, I've been saying the same thing for a long time. There should be 1 million people pledging $1 a month so that we can have a full-time network of people educating about this in major cities every day. Because until it is like that kind of effort, things aren't going to change. We can't drown out the media machine. We can't. What we're saying is never going to get out there anywhere near on the level of the media machine that's got a screen everywhere. But even if we had $1 million a month to do it, we still wouldn't be anywhere near competing with them. But the point is, if we get on a much bigger level, we can have a much bigger impact. And the thing is, a little tiny ounce of truth, if you will, like what we're putting out, it's worth way more than their pound of lies, if you will. I know it's really an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, but an ounce of truth also beats up a pound of lies. So if we have an ounce of resources compared to their pound of whatever they got, we can beat them. No doubt about it. That's why they have to censor us and delete us and slander us and spend their nightly news broadcast constantly reminding people like, oh, don't go listen to people online. They don't know what they're talking about. That's all the misinformation. It's like, okay, there is a lot of misinformation online, but hey, I'm online and everything I've been putting out is way more credible than what you put out. Everything I projected about COVID-19, right on the money. Dead on from the beginning. Even saw when the whole pandemic would wind down 2 years in advance. I told people not to get the jab. I said, you don't need a jab, an experimental jab from the most sued company in the world. for wrongful death and injury for a 99 point something percent survivable illness? I was right. I got taken down for medical misinformation because I'm not the World Health Organization. Sorry, I was right. You didn't need it. You'd be healthier. I'll tell you what, sweet lady right now, her office, she's the only healthy person right now. I'm not even going to elaborate beyond that, but she's the only healthy one. Everyone else is super sick there right now, and they're all jabbed up to their gills. So, anyway. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. Support's got to get way up by February. Otherwise, I'm going to stay in the very... Because the only way I'm going to persuade Sweet Lady is if she sees that, like, support got back up to where it at least used to be. If it got even higher, which it should be, should have just kept going up. Then she'd be like, okay, I see the worth of what you're doing. You got my blessing. Right now, I don't have her blessing. And of course, I have been traveling and doing things. She wasn't crazy about me going down to LA in the spring and through California. She was not happy about that at all, but... we made it happen, and then since then, support's only gone down further, so she wins the argument even more. Every time I go out to Seattle, she doesn't like it, but it happens. And last time we were in Seattle, if the person next to me hadn't caught on, I would have come home with another story that would have made her unhappy. If you guys missed last time we were in Seattle. And by the way, you guys, wasn't it so beautiful what I went out and did in Seattle? Wasn't it so beautiful in hindsight? How many even know? Wasn't it beautiful in hindsight? We were out there for the anniversary of 9/11, teaching all the knowledge and how the same patterns will continue to repeat because the same people are ruling. And before long, there'll be another 9/11. And the next thing you know, you have the 9/11 of Israel just days later. By all the numbers we just taught about. We were out there that day explaining before the Seahawks lost their game why they were going to lose and why Stafford would get his 94th win. Just dropping all these facts. Just things that should be happening way more. Should be happening all the time. Get out on the street doing this all the time. The word will spread. Have you heard about this Gematria community that's just dropping truth bombs everywhere, calling out the future before it happens? It's only going to happen with support. And notice in the last 10, 15 minutes that I've been talking about the support, so many people just ended the stream and signed off. But probably the same people that don't want to support, don't want to hear about it, just want to watch YouTube videos. They don't mind paying more and more in taxes as costs go up more and more. They don't really... It's like... Anyway, we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Have a good rest of your day, and until next time.